Hello and welcome to Smooth Move. I am Rachel DeMoy from Off Campus and Commuter Student Engagement.
And my name is Molly Hagerty, and I am with Student Legal Services.
The overarching goal of this presentation is we are trying to get you from where you are now to having a signed lease in your hands. We want you to feel comfortable and empowered through the process. On the screen, there are a few things that we hope that you take away from this video today. The way that this presentation is laid out is we will divide the off-campus housing process into who to consider, what you need to know, when to go through this entire process, considering where you might want to live, and then how to assess future properties.
Choosing the right roommate is just as, if not more important than finding the right rental property. Signing a lease with another person becomes a legal decision, one that is incredibly important during your college career. Make sure to choose your roommates wisely. Are you confident they will be able to pay their share of the rent on time each month? Are you confident this is someone you will be getting along with for an entire 12 months, quirks and all? Is this someone you trust to not destroy the property or allow irresponsible individuals into the property? These are all important questions you have to ask yourself before committing to living with someone. If you do decide to live with someone, make sure you discuss and sign a roommate agreement. The roommate agreement can be found online on our website under the off-campus tab. You'll want to discuss things like whether you will have a cleaning schedule, rules as it relates to overnight guests, if you will share food or have a hands-off policy, if parties are allowed and any rules associated with that, whether subleasing is okay with all the remaining roommates, what the thermostat will be set at during summer and winter months, and what cable or internet package you will get. Remember, you and your roommates may have very different budget restrictions. You may be working 2 jobs and supporting yourself through college, while your roommate may have a full scholarship and assistance from family to pay for bills. It is crucial that you and your roommates are on the same page every step of the way. Most importantly, you want to make sure you have a process in place if and when you run into conflicts. A roommate agreement can't cover every potential issue, so discuss what the process will be to rectify any issues. Will there be a house meeting and everyone votes, or will there be another process in place? So why is this all really important? Because you're generally in the off-campus area going to be signing a joint and several liability lease. A joint and several liability lease means that you are on the hook for not just your portion of the rent, but for the entire rental amount, including your roommate's rental amount, plus any damages that might be caused. So here's an example. If there are 4 of you living together and the rent is $2,000 per month, you individually could be held responsible for the entire lease amount for the entire lease term. For instance, you're living with these 3 individuals, and at last minute, those 3 decide they don't want to live with you anymore, and they decide to live together somewhere else. Technically, the landlord could go after you, even though you are the only person who has been responsible in paying rent on time, and ask for the entire $2,000 per month for the entire 12-month lease, plus any damages that have been caused. So now we'll move on to the what. You will be able to find this information on the website go.osu.edu/smoothmove. This website has not only this recorded presentation, but also has all kinds of information that's going to be important for you as you move through this process. What you're seeing on the screen is the first page of that guide. What you're doing is looking for an off-campus house, but behind the scenes, there's a bunch of terms and processes that go into your search. Again, the first thing we want you to be aware of is that most leases have a joint and several liability clause in them. And we've explained what that means. That means you will be liable for the entire rental amount plus any damages that have been caused. And remember that most leases are going to be for an entire rental term, and you will be liable for that entire rental term. Another important term is cosigner or guarantor. This is a person who pledges to bear responsibility for any unpaid damages and rent to the property. Most property owners in the University District and Columbus require tenants under the age of 23 to have a cosigner. This allows them to have some security that if the rent is not paid, they can go after someone else for the rent and any damages to the property. We will have another presentation next semester to talk to you more about what you do when you are living off campus as opposed to trying to find places to live. But I do want to go over the information you find here. You will probably pay a security deposit to your landlord when you do rent the property and may be asked to put down a holding deposit. The security deposit is basically a promise to your landlord that if you do not pay any of the rent or if there are damages to the property, the landlord can take from that security deposit at the end of the lease term. The holding deposit is separate from the security deposit, and it would be money that you pay to your landlord to hold a unit while the lease signing process is unfinished. This we see more often with some of the bigger houses that might be in a little bit more demand than maybe the 2 bedrooms or things like that. If you are going to pay a holding deposit and put money down prior to you signing that or giving anyone any money, we do want you to have something in writing that says what will happen to the money if you decide not to rent the property, and what happens to the money if you do decide to rent the property. Does it become the security deposit? What else happens to that? And if you are supposed to get the money back, when will you get that money back? Egress requirement: every bedroom must have an exit that meets city code if there is an emergency. When you view properties, that if you are in a bedroom in the basement, that you are able to exit the property in case of an emergency other than going up the stairs. You need to have a window to be able to get out of. Another important term is renter's insurance. Your landlord's insurance does not cover your personal property. So if there's a flood or a fire, theft, the landlord has their own insurance on their property, but that insurance does not cover yours. You need renter's insurance for your own personal property loss, things like your couch or your bed, your electronics, your laptop, gaming system, jewelry. Renter's insurance premiums are typically low cost. You can find more information about renter's insurance on our website, studentlegal.osu.edu. We're going to talk a lot about leases and lease agreements. A lease agreement is a legal contract between a landlord and the tenants. A sublease is different because it is a legal contract between the tenant on the original lease and then another person who was not on the original lease but who is moving in. The agreement is that the subleasee will take over the tenant's lease for a specified duration, but the landlord does not have a separate agreement with the subleasee, and the person who was the original tenant still has obligations to the landlord. Some of you may be considering subleasing this summer because you want to be in Columbus for your lease for next year starts. If that is the case, we highly encourage you to schedule an appointment to talk to Student Legal Services about the sublease, to get a sample sublease agreement, and to figure out whether or not you're actually able to sublease an apartment based on the agreement between the original tenant and the landlord.
Okay, so the question that we get most often is, when should I start searching for housing? Answer isn't as simple as you would think, but in general, we see many students begin searching for housing during autumn semester, typically somewhere between October and December. Now, if it were up to us, students wouldn't even begin searching until spring semester, but we understand the reality of students searching in the autumn semester. Luckily for you all, there are more properties than there are students to fill them within the university district, that neighborhood closest to campus. For instance, we're seeing more and more high-rise and or new builds pop up throughout the university district. So the housing inventory continues to increase, but the number of students seeking housing in that area remains the same. This is a positive thing for you all. It means that you'll have more options to choose from, and can also mean that you have the ability to negotiate, whether that be rent amount, lease date, repairs to the property before you enter. Now, we will also say that the supply of big houses, so talking about those 6+ bedroom houses, they are certainly not unlimited. So if you are someone seeking a big house, then searching for housing options in autumn semester will most likely be necessary to ensure you have enough options to choose from. Our local area property owners start leasing for the upcoming year at varying times. Some will start as early as September, which we definitely think is too soon. Others will wait until January. Property owners ask their current tenants if they're planning on staying for the upcoming 2023 to 2024 academic year, and are asking students to commit pretty quickly after moving in. Keep in mind, students just moved into their rental properties this August and are already being asked to plan on re-signing their leases. Some of you may have the advantage of waiting. The longer you wait, the more likely you are to get a great deal on an apartment. Typically with our high-rise apartments, They typically have a lot of deals like free month's rent at the beginning of spring semester. So if you're looking for those units with 2 to 4 people, talking with property owners about what deals you could look into during spring semester would be a great place to start. On our website, which is go.osu.edu/smoothmove, you can find access to this map. It is hyperlinked to a Google map. When you click on the map, it'll take you to the internet browser and show you information such as where campus landmarks are in relation to your property, where the bus lines are, different options for eating and shopping around the area that you're looking at. This is a living resource, means that it's going to be changed and updated over time as campus changes and as we identify relevant locations to add to the map. Students can also utilize communitycrimemap.com. This gives students and parents the tools to make informed decisions about safety in your community. Keep in mind that when you access the map, you will have a lot of opportunity to toggle which crimes you are looking at and for what time period. How are you going to find housing? We recommend starting with our off-campus living guide. The Off-Campus Living Guide is a great resource to help walk you through the process of searching and finding off-campus housing. It walks you through considerations before choosing your roommates, keeping in mind that friends don't always make the best roommates, and sometimes they do. Just making sure you choose your roommates wisely is key. The guide also outlines resources available to you when seeking information on safety, peer ratings of property owners, how to evaluate a property, and so much more. This guide will walk you through starting your search for housing all the way through moving out and getting that security deposit back. This is a good resource to keep in mind when you're searching and living off campus. Also, to help with your off-campus living experience, we have an off-campus housing search. Only properties who are in the off-campus housing network are listed on our housing search. This program allows property owners to partner with the university if they commit to a number of life safety criteria and pay a participation fee. These criteria are above and beyond city code and focus not only on safety items in the home, but also their commitment to supporting and helping educate our students. If property owners commit to this list of criteria and pay the fee, this then allows them to have their properties featured on our online housing search at offcampus.osu.edu. You can see which property owners are in the off-campus housing network and all of the items that they've committed to on our website at offcampus.osu.edu. Some alternative methods for looking for places to live are walking around and knocking on doors, asking current tenants if they're planning to re-sign, and if they're not, asking them why. It could be that they're graduating and not planning to live in Columbus the following year, or maybe they've had a really bad experience at that current unit. Either way, that is good information for you to know. You can also check for leasing signs or leave a note asking if tenants are re-signing. We recommend starting with the off-campus living guide, then conducting an online search, seeking out property owner specific information, scheduling a tour, deciding to lease, scheduling a lease review, and signing. Event to kind of help you through this process. That is our off-campus living expo. This opportunity will provide you with an option to talk with property owners in the area, but also local area businesses, student legal services, and organizations available to support your safety on and off campus. So the Off-Campus Living Expo will be available to you on October 19th, 2022 from 12 p.m. to 4 p.m. in the Ohio Union Great Home Meeting Room on the first floor of the Union. If you have any questions about living off campus or haven't found a place to rent from at this time in the semester, going to this Living Expo will be a great way to get more information on the off-campus living experience.
When we talk about the how, I want to go back to touring the property. Let's say that you've narrowed down a list of properties that you want to look at, and you call the landlord or email them or contact them in some way to schedule a tour of the property. So important that you're actually viewing the unit you want to rent versus a model apartment or another apartment. You want to see the place that you will be living next year. So if you're going to rent apartment A, we want to look at apartment A and not apartment D. When you go, so we strongly encourage you to take this information for finding peace before you lease. This guide can be found again online at go.osu.edu/smooth move. Now, we're not going to go through every single piece and part of this guide, but we do want to hit some of the highlights and the important things that you want to be thinking about while you're touring the property. We talked a little bit about price and concerns about how much you have to spend. We also want to add on to that, how much are the utilities? You want to know whether or not the utilities are included in the price, the monthly rental cost, or if utilities are added on. So your landlord in the rental amount may cover some of the utilities. So things like gas, water, electric, internet, those might be covered in the monthly rental cost, or they may be additional costs on top of the monthly rental costs, and you may have to put those utilities in your own names rather than paying the landlord for those utilities. Other things to think about is parking. Do you have to pay for parking on top of the monthly rental cost, or is that wrapped into it? Is the parking on the street or is it in a lot that the landlord provides? And when we're thinking about that parking, how many spots does the landlord provide? So you may have a house that's 6 people living in it, but there's only 2 parking spots. You need to consider who's going to get those spots and whether or not they will pay extra for those. Whatever you do decide based on that, we do strongly encourage you to put all of those factors when you are ready into your roommate agreement. Other things we're going to be thinking about are location. I always bring up the example, if you're in Fisher College of Business, you may not want to live really far south because that's could be quite a hike for you. What's your commute? Will you be walking? Will you be biking, taking the bus, driving? You want to know all of those things so that will help you narrow down your search. A few other factors to consider are exterior and interior safety. So when we talk about exterior safety, when you're touring the property, we suggest that you go and view it at different times. So if you're going to go at night outside of the official tour, take a buddy and check to see, do you feel safe walking from where you come from campus? Maybe you like to study in the library, and then you're going to be walking after dark or after dusk back to the property. Is there enough lighting? Do you feel safe? When you're actually at the property, looking about at the locks, do they look like they have adequate locks? Are the doors leading to the outside made of solid material? And there's a few other points here on the exterior safety part of the guide, but really feeling like you feel comfortable with the exterior safety. There's not anywhere that's really hidden. If you're trying to get in the property from the alley, that's the way you access the property. Are there bushes that could be somewhere where someone could hide and that would impede your safety? Interior safety, there are certain things to be looking for. I want you to remember when you're viewing these properties and doing the tour, this is your landlord's opportunity to show you what they have and the best that they have. If you walk in and the property has hanging wires and insulation coming out of the ceiling, that's going to should indicate something to you that the landlord, while they are showing you the property that you're supposed to rent, don't care enough to have a maintained property for these tours, and that may be a red flag for you. Other factors for interior safety. Please be very, very wary of basement bedrooms. And if you are looking in that basement bedroom and there's not a way that you can easily see to get out through a window, you need to have a separate access other than coming up the stairs. And these are all factors that we can help you consider too when we're talking to you about a lease review. But when you're touring the property, so important for you to be looking at, how would you get out in the event that there's a fire? Do you feel comfortable in any of the bedrooms, but in particular basement bedrooms? We also want to look at things like, does it look like there's enough outlets for the appliances and the lights and the fans that you will bring? If there's one outlet in the family room, that's going to be a problem for you in terms of your safety on the interior. Other things to look at are the interior quality. Again, your landlord's supposed to be showing you what they have. If there's significant damage already in the property, that's not just the tenant who lives there issue. That's the landlord's issue, that they're allowing their property to be kept in that manner. And that might be a red flag for you, that you may not want to live there because that's how the landlord allows for their property to be. Make sure that the windows will open. Other factors to consider, again, are you signing the lease individually? So each of you signs your own lease and you're not liable for the other people, or are you signing it jointly and separately? Are you allowed to sublease? What other unit features are there? Things like dishwasher. Is there an in-unit washer and dryer? If there's not, where do you do your laundry? Do you feel safe going down to the basement to do your laundry? Parking. Is there air conditioning? Think about the actual neighbors in the neighborhood. Are the neighbors students or are they permanent residents? Are they people who like students and like the fact that you're going to be there, or are they going to be calling the police on you every time you sneeze? Those are all important things to be thinking about and factors to consider. And doing your research. Research the landlord. Student legal services and off campus do not specifically endorse or evaluate landlords. Off campus does have the off campus housing network, which means that the landlords have agreed to follow certain factors, which you can find online on their website, but that does not mean it's an endorsement of those landlords. So you're going to have to do your own research. What we find is that some students think, oh, I just have to live this way in a dirty house or with a landlord who is not communicative because you're students. That's not the case. Landlords have certain responsibilities under the law, as do tenants. You want to find the landlords that have a good reputation, or fellow students find that they enjoy living in their properties. And some of the ways that you can do that research is talk to the current tenants and ask them, what's your landlord like? Do you like them? Are they responsive? You can conduct an internet search. You can also find the USG, or the Undergraduate Student Government's Renters Guide, which surveys fellow students about landlords in the off campus and asks them questions like, does the landlord maintain the property? Do they respond to repair requests? Did you get your security deposit back? Look closely at those renters guides and see how your fellow students have evaluated landlords in the area. You can also search for the landlord on the Franklin County Municipal Court website. There is a link to that website if you find the guide online. You can see how many times has the landlord been in Franklin County Municipal Court? How many times have they been sued? How many times have rent escrow cases been filed against them? Again, there's a lot of different things to evaluate in the process, and you can take the guide found at go.osu.edu/smooth move to help you in the process of evaluating and touring properties. Now you've narrowed down your search and you found that place. You are ready to move forward with, and you want to lease with this property. But stop. Before we get there, before you sign on the dotted line and this becomes a legal contract between you and the landlord, you want to get your lease reviewed by my office, Student Legal Services. The lease review service is available to you so that you understand what are your rights and responsibilities under Ohio law and what are the landlord's rights and responsibilities under Ohio law. Not all leases in Ohio are standard, meaning that landlord A may use a completely different lease than landlord B. So you want to understand exactly what you're getting into. You want to be an educated consumer. You would not buy a car or some expensive electronic that costs thousands of dollars without doing your research. The same goes for signing a lease. You are going to commit legally to spend thousands of dollars on this property for where you're going to live next year. You want to do the tours, you want to go through and research thoroughly, and then you want to get this lease review from Student Legal Services. It's very easy to schedule. We have a lot of appointments available. You can schedule at studentlegal.osu.edu. If you are trying to schedule for the day of, you can text our office and see if there are any day of appointments available for a lease review. Otherwise, there are plenty of appointments available to schedule for the next day. We also help students once they are living off campus for next year. When you have any issues with, say, getting repairs, getting your security deposit back, you want to talk about the roommate agreement, or you want to talk about sublease agreements, we can help you with those as well. And we also have a lot of that information and forms and valuable things on our website at studentlegal.osu.edu. Again, you're going to want to look out for our presentation next semester, which will cover more of the living off campus, to include how do you get repairs, what notices you have to send, how do you secure your security deposit and get it back. There's some things that you need to do when you move in and when you move out of your property, and we'll cover all of those. We also have some educational videos on our website. You can also find them at go.osu.edu/off-campus videos. These are short videos that go over really important topics like what to do when you move into your property, how do you get repairs, renter's insurance, roommates. We also have ones about moving out of your property, subleasing. Please go through those videos and also go through both our website and offcampus.osu.edu, because we have set these up to be valuable resources for you as you are finding housing and living off campus. A note on budgeting. If you need help with budgeting, there's a great resource for you through the Student Life Student Wellness Center, which is Scarlet and Gray Financial Coaching. These coaches will go through and talk to you about your budget for next year and include all of these expenses and help you figure out income you will have. So will your parents be helping? What does your loans look like? What do you have to spend as you move forward in this process? So we highly encourage you to schedule an appointment to get a Scarlet and Gray financial coaching appointment at the Student Life Student Wellness Center.
Talking about a summary, making sure that you're considering the number of roommates that you have, who your roommates are going to be, and feeling confident that you are entering a legal agreement with those individuals and your property owner. Considering location, budget, and price. If the property owner is in the off campus housing network and committed to those life safety issues and helping educate our students. If you're planning on studying abroad or if you're planning on taking a semester off, also paying attention to those lease restrictions and when you'll have to move out or get a subletter for the remainder of your lease. On the screen, you'll find all of the resources that we touched on in the presentation today: the off-campus living guide, our housing search, our roommate search, student legal services lease reviews and educational videos, the Scarlet and Gray financial coaching. One last resource is the property score sheet. This is in the packet of information that we've talked about several times at go.osu.edu/smooth move. You can utilize this rubric to rank all of the properties that you're looking at. Properties with higher scores are considered more favorable. And then for each positive feature of a property, you can add 1 point. For each negative feature, you can subtract 1 point and then total your scores to find your ideal property. This makes it easier to talk about properties with roommates when you have determined what your budget is, what location you're looking for. This is a good way to remain objective when looking for a place to live.
You are still supported after this presentation in many ways by both of our offices. Where do you go with what questions? First of all, here you'll find the contact information for our offices. Be sure to follow us on social in order to stay up to date on the latest news and events. Off-campus and commuter student engagement. Their email address and their website are here. Think of them as your logistics and safety experts. They have the off-campus housing network. They have the off-campus housing search. They have safety devices available for you. They're located on the 3rd floor of the Union, and you can go get those either personal safety devices or they host roommate fairs. They also have advertising for subleasing and advertising if you want to list for a roommate. They also have resources for commuters. Maybe you aren't living within walking distance of the university, but you still want to maintain that relationship with the university and feel like you're a part of the university. Off campus is your place. They're going to have those commuter resources and the off campus living guide as well. Student legal services, we are your lawyers. Our email and our website are here for you. We deal with the legal issues related to off campus housing. We'll do that lease review for you. We can explain your lease terms, help you get repairs, get your security deposit back if it doesn't come back in full or they've taken out parts of your security deposit that you don't agree with. We have sublease agreements on our website website, as well as the roommate agreement. We can talk to you about terminating your lease if that's something that you're looking to do. If you're having problems with your utilities or pests and bugs in your apartment, all of those things fall under our purview. The information that we've talked about today, again, to circle back, you can find at go.osu.edu/smooth move. And I do want to remind you that Student Legal Services does not just deal with off-campus housing issues. We are a full-service law firm that contracts with the university to provide these legal services to you. Our services are confidential, so if you have a question about your off-campus housing or any of the other issues that we cover, we have no reporting requirements to the university, nor do we have to tell anyone at the university, like student conduct or your parents, that you came in to see us. We won't talk to anybody about your issues unless you give us permission to do so. We do cover things like criminal misdemeanors. We represent students in court every day. And we also help students with a lot of other civil issues like consumer credit and debt, anything to do with cars, you name it, we're probably going to cover it. Students are facing these legal issues.
We're not only here to help you find your off campus house or find your off campus roommates, but really both of us are here to support you throughout your entire time living off campus, all the way through moving out and graduating. We are here to answer any of your questions and can be that go to office at the university.
Thanks so much for joining us today, and go Bucks.